I'm bigcal and welcome to my world. So it's been just over a week now since Nintendo had their big Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, and a lot of stuff there. And I wanted to get this video out quicker than I did, but every time I thought, I've got everything I need now, new information was just constantly pumping out over the internet. Every single day we got something new or something that contradicted what we'd already heard. And I thought, okay, I'll just wait while everything calms down and finally put a video out. And now is that time. So firstly, I'm going to mainly go through the actual Direct, give my thoughts on the games that show up and things like that. A lot of it will just be me basically saying what the games are, and just to save time, I'll do a quick system with a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle for the games as to whether or not I'm interested in them, not interested in them, or thumbs in the middle will be maybe interested in this game but not sure if I'll wait and get it on Switch 2 kind of thing. And I'll go into more detail obviously with the games that I am interested in, so yeah. Let's just get started then and go through the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. Well then, obviously the first title was perhaps the biggest title that they showed off, and that is Mario Kart World. We knew this was going to come because when they did their Switch 2 reveal a couple of months ago, they showed off like 30 seconds of a new Mario Kart game. So yeah, we knew this was happening, but now we get the official reveal, Mario Kart World. And it's going to be open world in a lot of ways. There's a huge roster of characters, including some really weird ones like the cow from Moo Moo Farm and a ton of others. And you can have 24 players at once on a track, which is probably why they've added so many really weird random characters into it. But that's really cool. There are costumes for each character as well. Looks like quite a few for them, which you can collect as you're playing the game. There's a new Hammer Bros weapon, the return of the Mega Mushroom. There are going to be some weather changes during the course, like when lightning hits it'll start raining. It looks like there's maybe some fog as well. And there's going to be a day and night system, really, really cool. It's going to change how the tracks look, so that's always fun. And then we kind of have a Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed bit of a feel, where when you go into water, instead of going underwater, like in the last couple of games, we now turn into a boat and go over the water. And when you're flying in the air after you go off for a big ramp or whatever, instead of just having that stupid glider over the top of you, you now turn sort of into an aeroplane. So that's pretty cool. All looks really, really good. Really, really fun. There's the Knockout Tour, which looks similar to the Outrun games, where you go through multiple tracks and go through checkpoints to stay into the race. And then finally get to the end. Obviously here you have to stay in a certain position to carry on, and at the end you need to be in first place to win. Yeah, it looks really, really cool. There's also grinding now, which will get you a new boost, and sort of wall jumping as well off of that. Be interesting to see how they work that into the game a little more. And of course there is free roam mode, where you can just drive around the big open world and see how all these tracks connect. You can go from one to the other. So it looks really, really interesting. I'm very, very excited for this game. Minus one thing, which we'll talk about towards the end of the video. I'm going through what we saw in the Direct first, and then we'll get to the other things. But yeah, Mario Kart World looks stunning, and I love the idea of this free roam mode. It looks really, really fun. It is interesting, though, that it's going to get its own Direct on April 17th, which makes me wonder, what don't we know about this game yet? What is there to hide from us so far? Because we've seen quite a bit of the game. They did a Treehouse special showing off a bunch of footage, which I'll probably have over this video now. Yeah, so we saw a lot of how the game works there, but it seems as maybe something that they're keeping from us that we're going to see in this Direct on April 17th. So yeah, that'll be really, really interesting to find out what Mario Kart World could offer beyond what they've shown us. Because what they've shown us looks spectacular. Then they finally revealed what the C button was on the new controllers, and is used to connect with friends online in games with screen sharing, including making use of a microphone that's now in the system, and a camera accessory. Sold separately, of course. However, they did say that you could use USB webcams. I don't know if it'll just be any USB webcam will be compatible, or if they'll end up with a list of newer models that will work with it. I don't know, but that's what they're saying at the moment. Unfortunately, screen sharing looks to be very, very poor quality with such low frame rate, it's not even worth it. But at least you don't have to be playing the same game at the same time, so that's cool. And you do have options to turn the screens off if you want, or zoom in on someone else's too. So you can still be talking with friends via microphone, but not have to see what they're playing and things like that. You will, of course, have to pay to use this service through NSO. However, it will be free for almost an entire year, as it's going up until the end of March 2026. And then after that, you will have to pay for it. Who knows if it'll be an extra tier on Nintendo Switch Online. We'll get to why later. But yeah, for now, it's going to be free for almost a year. People get used to it. The camera, yeah, not too thrilled about any of these features personally, but it's nice to see Nintendo catching up a tiny little bit with certain online functions. Then they also revealed Game Share, which lets you share a game with up to 3 other consoles using just one copy of the game in local wireless and online. So only certain games are available that are going to support this. So far we know Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Games, Super Mario Odyssey and Big Brain Academy Brain vs Brain, with more titles to be included, including Switch 2 games. Yeah, game sharing, cool, especially a multiplayer game. You know, you want to play online with someone, they don't have that copy of that game, now you can play online with them. Really, really fun. And of course that adds just a little extra to what we saw in the Nintendo Switch Direct the week or so before, when they had the whole digital game sharing thing, which was slightly confusing. But yeah, it's nice to see Nintendo adding these basic functions now into the system. Next then, they showed us more of the actual console, and we've of course found out, well, we already knew it has a much bigger screen now, and despite the fact that it is still LCD, it is now 1080p up to 120 frames per second, and a much brighter screen that supports HDR. And from what I've been reading online for people who've been able to play the Switch 2, they're claiming that the screen looks just as good, if not better, than what the OLED Switch 1 looks like. So while people are disappointed that we don't get an OLED screen straight away with the Switch 2, it does appear that the screen looks just as good, if not better, for the most part. I'm assuming, blacks won't be as, as dark and properly black as an OLED screen, but for the most part, apparently it looks wonderful. So that's cool. Joy-Con 2s will attach with magnets. Yeah, we already kind of knew that. And they'll have bigger SL and SR buttons on them. However, it has been confirmed they're not using Hall effect sticks, which could potentially lead to drifting being an issue again. And Nintendo do not like to confirm that drifting was ever an issue. So when they've talked about the new sticks, they've simply said everything's been built from the ground up again. And hopefully that means that they've solved the problem a different way other than using Hall effect sticks, which aren't the only way to prevent stick drift. Yeah, so we can only hope. We'll have to wait and see on that. Yeah. The Joy-Con 2s, of course, can both be used as a mouse, so you don't just have the left one or the right one, you can use both. And we'll see them both being used later in the Direct. So that's interesting. New and improved speakers for better audio and supports 3D audio as well. Great for audiophiles. Yeah, that's cool. As long as it sounds alright, I'm good with that. A better stand to use in tabletop mode. Don't think I've ever personally used the stand on my Switch 1. But yeah, it's there for other people who do want to use it. And if they do, there's also a USB port now on the top and the bottom of the console. So you can charge it when you use it in tabletop mode and have it using the stand. Or of course, you now have the option to have 2 things plugged in USB, such as charging and maybe the USB camera if you want. So yeah, the internal storage is now 256 gigabytes, which is huge for Nintendo. Teeny tiny for everybody else. But when it comes to Nintendo systems, 256 gigabyte is a lot, really. For me personally, in my Switch 1, I believe I only have a 256GB SD card in there, as well as was it 64 gig that was internal, or 32 gig? Not much anyway. I still haven't filled the card. So 256GB internal with the Switch 2, with the games being a little bit bigger. I'm probably going to end up in a similar position where I'll only buy a relatively small SD card to extend the storage, and I'll be perfectly fine. Obviously, for people who buy digital games, they'll need more storage, but yeah, it is what it is. The dock now supports up to 4K and HDR, and up to 60 FPS in 4K mode. Really, really cool. Can't wait to see some classic Nintendo games in 4K. It's going to look spectacular. Go on, that 3D Mario game. I need to see what the next 3D Mario game is going to look like in 4K. Because 3D Mario games, you go back to the GameCube, still looked fantastic. You look at the Wii, the Mario Galaxy games looked fantastic compared to HD consoles that were on the market at the time. So imagine what they're going to be able to do with 4K. There's also a fan in the dock as well for better cooling. Really good to have that. And the Switch 2 is going to be mostly backwards compatible. And then they revealed the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour game. And it's one of these things where you look at it, it's like, why is this not a pack-in title? Why is this not pre-installed on the Nintendo Switch 2? Because it's Nintendo, that's why. The only reason we got Wii Sports as a pack-in title is because Reggie Fils-Aimé practically had to beg all of Nintendo to include it. And he's not around anymore, so nobody cares. And it's literally just, a welcome tour of the Switch 2, showing you its new features of the controllers, and there are a bunch of really crappy tiny mini games that are worth fuck all. But they are going to be charging for it. We know that the price for the US is $10, which is double the amount I think it should be charged. If they're going to charge for it, it shouldn't be more than $5, or in the UK here, £5. We're probably going to get charged £10 because they'll just change the currency icon at the start from dollar to pound. They tend to do that, and it just does not look worth it at all. And when you compare Astro's Playroom that comes pre-installed in every PS5 with this, you just wonder what a Nintendo possibly thinking. It is crazy. So yeah, there's that. Whatever. The Nintendo Switch 2 will make use of new game cards, which look very similar to Switch 1, but now they're going to be red and slightly different shaped, maybe, ever so slightly. And they're going to have faster data reading speeds. And speaking of that, expandable storage is going to be micro SD Express only. I'd never heard of micro SD Express cards until this Direct, and it's a new form of micro SD that runs considerably faster and costs more money. So yeah, your regular micro SD card will not be usable in the Switch 2. I think you can use it just to put in to transfer photos and videos that you take with the capture thing, the capture button. Other than that, nothing. No game saves, certainly no games. It'll have to be micro SD Express. Now, thankfully, the price actually seems to have gone down on these since Nintendo announced it. They were pretty much double the price for a 256GB card. They were like £80, £90, and now they're sort of $49.99 most places. So yeah, for a lot of people, depending on when they get a Switch 2, there's a good chance the prices will have dropped again, and they'll be able to get a decent sized micro SD Express card for a much better price. Then they showed off the Pro Controller 2, which looks very similar to the Pro Controller 1, which I'm fine with. I very much like it. The main differences are the C button, obviously, two new buttons are at the back, which you can program yourself. Honestly, I've never made use of those type of buttons on any controller, but they are there, and maybe other games in the future will make use of them, don't know. But the most exciting feature for me on the Pro Controller 2 is the built-in headphone jack. I love that on the PlayStation systems. PS4 and PS5 both have one. If I'm sat playing a game in bed late at night, I can plug the headphones directly into the controller and play my game without disturbing everybody else. Much, much easier. So I'm glad that's finally been added to the Switch 2 Pro Controller. Then they announced the launch date for the Switch 2, and it is coming pretty quickly in June 2025 on the 5th. So yeah, only a couple of months away. Really, really quickly. Yeah, which suggests to me that they've had this ready to go for quite some time now. Yeah, and they probably wish they'd released it sooner, but we won't get into that. Yeah, and then they announced that some original Switch games will also feature Switch 2 editions as upgrades. So firstly, we have a number that are getting free Switch 2 upgrades, although other than them saying there's going to be some slight performance improvements, they haven't detailed anything else, if the games do get anything else, or even if they're coming out with the launch of the system, or if they'll drip feed those upgrades. We do know most of the games that are going to be coming for them. Whether or not they'll add more, I don't know. But we are going to get free upgrades for the Switch 2 for ARMS, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Game Builder Garage, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and Big Brain Academy Brain vs. Brain. So obviously the big ones there that people will be excited about getting performance upgrades are Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. For the love of God, make them just run at a smooth 30 FPS and I will be happy. But the fact that we're having to wait for a new system release to get anything like that, it still kind of sucks. And as well as those free upgrades, there will of course be some paid upgrades for Switch 2. Starting with an upgraded version of Mario Party Jamboree, which will release on July 24th, so not a launch title. Basically, this will expand the base game with new mouse controls, audio recognition, and camera features, and new modes obviously to make use of these features. And is it just me, or does this just kind of look like an iToy game? Especially with the whole camera usage. But yeah. Then two big ones that other people are very much interested in, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They'll get Switch 2 upgrade versions with higher resolution, HDR support, and running at 60 FPS. And then there's also Zelda Notes, which uses the Nintendo app to show you locations in game, etc. It doesn't really interest me, but they'll be available at launch. And I think you'll also get those upgrades for free as a Nintendo Switch Online member with the expansion pack. Not too clear on that, I'll be honest, I haven't really looked into it because I just don't care about Zelda stuff. One that I do care about though is Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is getting a Switch 2 edition. It'll get an expansion called Star-Crossed World. And this takes place in the regular levels, but now this new star thing has landed in the levels and creates new pathways for you to go through. It'll be interesting to see exactly how many levels are going to be affected by this. It's going to be every single level, which would pretty much be huge and double the game, or will it be select ones, and then how big are these new expansions to the level? And of course it will look and play a little bit better as well, although honestly I played through the game, had a blast, and never really noticed any performance issues personally. And then Metroid Prime 4, as expected, will have a Switch 2 version. This one is pretty big. You can use mouse controls, which is going to be absolutely fantastic for an FPS like this. And you can either have it docked at 4K and 60 FPS, or you can keep it docked or in handheld at 1080p and 120 frames per second. Yeah, this is going to be glorious. And both handheld and docked will support HDR, We just still don't have a release date for this, which is a shame, but oh my god, it looks fantastic and I can't wait to try it with the mouse controls. And lastly then, another game that people will be happy about getting the Switch 2 version is Pokemon Legends ZA. This will have enhanced resolution and frame rates because it's probably going to chug on the original Switch. All of these games are confirmed to get not just a digital release but a physical release as well. Now, originally there was a lot of misinformation out there for about a week. It's only just sort of been, revealed that no, these games are getting a Switch 2 cartridge with the expansion on the cartridge. There were a lot of people who seemed to think it was going to be the Switch 1 cartridge in the box with a download code for the expansion. And the confusion appears to be that because if you do already own the Switch 1 versions, you can simply upgrade, either buying it digitally with the expansion pack or by buying a card with a serial code on it like you would with a digital game sometimes. So yeah, the full games are going to be on the cartridge with the expansion. However, for the Zelda game, just keep note that the DLC is not included, so you will still have to buy that if you don't already own it. Then we got to look at a brand new game to show off the mouse controls. Drag X Drive or Drag Cross Drive, Drag and Drive, I don't know. Frankly, I don't care. Some wheelchair basketball game that uses both mouse controls, and it frankly looks garbage. It looks like a tech demo. It looks like it should be one of the built-in mini-games for the Nintendo Switch Tour game. That's how bad this looks. You're in an empty warehouse, there are no people around, no crowd, and it's 3 versus 3, that's it. Yeah, it's kind of baffling that this was the sort of only game that they showed off that is properly mouse controlled. Everything else that we've seen are games that don't use the mouse if you don't want to. The option will be there, or there'll be an upgrade for games that are already out to add mouse controls. So this is the only mouse-specific game they showed off, and it looks terrible. No idea what Nintendo were thinking there. Really, really, really bad, to be honest. Right, so we're going to go mainly now to the thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle thing as I go through a bunch of games that were shown off from third parties. So we have Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, which includes the expansion pack, coming out sometime in 2025. Whatever. Hades 2 Switch port. It's also coming to Switch 1 and will be a Nintendo timed exclusive. Street Fighter 6 also getting a Switch 2 port, compatible with Amiibo, and will have exclusive Switch 2 modes, and that will be a launch title with the Nintendo Switch. Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion. That's coming out September 5th. Good for it. Split Fiction. Apparently is already a game. It's now getting a port onto the Switch and will be a launch title. At least it's a co-op game, so yeah, that'll be good for some people. EA announced that a bunch of their sports games will be coming to Switch 2. Wonderful. Hogwarts Legacy is getting a port and will support mouse controls. That'll be a launch title. Whatever. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 remake is getting a port and will be due out in the summer of 2025. Could be one I get on the Switch too, but I'm probably just going to buy the PS5 version to begin with. Then we have Hitman World of Assassination Signature Edition. That'll be a launch title. IO Interactive showed off their 007 game, and by showed off I mean they had the 007 little intro and announced that it's coming to the Switch with zero new information on the game, no footage, nothing close to a release date. We have no idea what this is going to look like or when it's coming out. Bravely Default Flying Fairy, that'll be coming out as a launch title, and that is a remaster of Bravely Default 1, which was that a 3DS game? I've tried getting into the Bravely Default series, didn't do it for me. And this one will also have some new mouse control based mini games for the Switch too, it seems. Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, that'll be a launch title. Then they revealed a brand new first party-ish game. The first party in that is Zelda, I guess. Second party then, first party game made by a third party. I don't know. And that is Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. And obviously it's a warrior style game set in the land of Hyrule with Legend of Zelda stuff. The story will be set before Tears of the Kingdom. I think there's some time travel involved, and it'll be coming out this winter. Give me Dragon Quest Heroes 3, please. Then we move on to a big announcement that made a lot of people happy, and that is the announcement of the NSO expansion pack for Switch 2, including GameCube titles. Yeah, so GameCube is finally coming to NSO, however Switch 2 exclusive, because apparently the Switch 1 can't run GameCube games. Balls. Anyway, the first 3 titles that will be released on this, I believe, at launch are going to be Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2, and F-Zero GX. F-Zero! Yes, that's going to be launching with the system, I believe, on the NSO. So that is pretty cool, and they have confirmed a number of other titles that will come, including the obvious Mario Sunshine. And then they threw some crazy games here. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, Chibi Robo, Pokemon Colosseum and XD Gale of Darkness, which there are some very expensive games there. Pokemon Colosseum, not that expensive compared to the other 3, but the other 3 very expensive these days. So the fact that people will be able to play these games in a legal way for essentially dirt cheap is fantastic. So I just hope that they will run fine for people. And then, of course, we get some more simple ones such as Luigi's Mansion and Mario Smash Football. Obviously, they will add more over time. How many and when they add them, we don't know. Could just be a very slow drip feed again. But the fact that we're getting GameCube games on the Switch 2, pretty cool. You'll also be able to customise the controls for each individual game. I'm not sure if that's just for the GameCube games or if it'll be all of the Nintendo Switch Classics. Nintendo Classics, I think they're now calling them, rather than just the individual retro titles. They're just lumping them all together. Yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to do it for like the NES games and things like that, or if it'll just be the GameCube, but there is going to be some controller customization. And speaking of controller, of course, there will be a wireless GameCube controller available as well. So, yeah, really nice. But if you don't want to buy a wireless one, you can still use a regular GameCube controller using the USB GameCube controller adapter that they've had since the Wii U. So, yeah, really nice there. Deltarune Chapters 1 to 4, which will be a launch title. Chapters 3 and 4 new or something? Something like that. I'll be honest, I've not really followed it. It's not really something I'm that interested in, but people are excited about it, so that's cool. And I think it will also use mouse controls as well for parts of the game. Borderlands 4 is getting a Switch 2 port. Whatever, couldn't care less. Civilization 7 is getting a Switch 2 support. Cool. And of course will support a mouse, which is very cool because those kind of games were kind of made to be played on PC. So having the option to use a mouse, fantastic, and that'll be a launch title. 2K Games announced that their WWE and NBA titles will come to Switch 2. Let's just hope that they're an improvement over the absolute garbage that they put out on the Switch 1. We'll see. Survival Kids is a game that's coming out at launch. Enter the Gungeon 2, that's a brand new game, a sequel to Enter the Gungeon. No release date yet, but yep, coming on Switch 2. Then there was Starseeker Astroneer Expeditions, coming out in 2026. Looks like some multiplayer online game. Doesn't interest me. Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition will be a launch title. That will come with the DLC. And has been confirmed the entire game will fit on the cartridge. No additional download needed. So that's very interesting. Especially since I believe the cartridges are going to be 64 gigabytes, the bigger ones. So how they're going to fit it all on there, are the textures going to be smaller, the graphics going to be slightly worse probably, but it'll be interesting to see how it runs on the Switch too. Then the Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate is getting a Switch 2 port. That's the first of the Final Fantasy VII remakes they're doing. It's a trilogy, I believe. The Integrate version was the one that we released on PlayStation 5. So that's coming out. Then we have Kunitsugami, Hollow Knight Silk Song. Still exists, people. Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar, August 27th of this year. Goodnight Universe, 2025. 2 Point Museum, also 2025. Wild Hearts S, whatever that is coming July 25th. Witchbrook, Holiday 2025. Puyo Puyo Tetris 25 will be a launch title. Room Factory Guardians of Azuma, that'll be a launch title. They already announced Marvel Cosmic Invasion, a MCU style beat 'em up, from the same people who have been doing they did Streets of Rage 4, and was it them that did the Turtles game or the Power Rangers game or both? Either way, looks really good. It's coming from good developers. I was very excited to see it during the Switch 1 Direct, so the fact it's coming out on more powerful systems, really cool. That'll be out towards the end of the year. Star Wars Outlaws will be coming to Switch 2. Fun. I haven't got around to playing that yet. Will I get the Switch 2 version? Who knows, but it's a game I'm interested in. Nobunaga's Ambition Awakening Complete Edition will be a launch title. A launch title I am very interested in is Fast Fusion. They've been releasing games going back, I think, to the 3DS and Wii U days. Fast RMX Racing is the one from Nintendo Switch at the moment. Excellent racing game, sort of a mix of F-Zero and Wipeout style games. They are very fun, so a new game coming to the more powerful system, definitely one to look out for. Then we have Shadow Labyrinth Switch 2 Edition, Raidu Remastered, No Sleep for Konami, Date AI the Somnium Files, excuse my terrible pronunciation of the English language there, that's coming out July 25th, Reanimal, whatever that is, 2025, Fortnite getting a Switch 2 version, of course, that'll be a launch title. Very interesting to see this, Arcade Archives 2 Ridge Racer. Professor Layton, The New World of Steam, coming out 2025. Tamagotchi Plaza for the Switch 2 will get a June 27th release. Human Fall Flat 2 will get a release on the Switch 2, no date as of yet. Then we had The Duskbloods, which is a From Software game that people got really excited about, then found out it was multiplayer focused and most of them lost excitement for, but it's currently going to be a Switch 2 exclusive coming out in 2026. Then, literally out of bloody nowhere, Kirby Air Riders showed up. A sequel to Kirby Air Ride from the GameCube, which I'm surprised they didn't announce coming to the GameCube NSO, because surely they'll want people to play the original to know what the hell the game is, so then they can get more excited about a sequel. Because even I haven't played the original as of yet and would very much like to. And that's coming out in 2025, so it'll be interesting to see what this game ends up being. And then their final game show-off was another big first-party software release. I was ever so slightly disappointed at first it wasn't the new 3D Mario game, but after watching it, I am excited for Donkey Kong Bonanza. Yeah, this is a fully 3D Donkey Kong game. Only the second 3D Donkey Kong, I believe, after Donkey Kong 64. And this will even come out just over a month after Switch 2's release on July 17th. Yeah, and this looks spectacular. The open world is massively destructible and seems to have a big focus on you digging down into the ground and smashing through rocks, creating your own pathways to find hidden secrets and caves and things. So yeah, looks really good. Also, kind of looks like it's got a very similar structure to the Mario Odyssey games, but instead of finding tons of moons everywhere, you'll be finding golden bananas. So while they haven't released the team who are developing this, it probably is the same that did Mario Odyssey. definitely looks like it. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. And that was all the information we got in the actual Switch 2 Direct, which was still missing quite a bit of info, such as the price of the system, which they didn't release on the Direct, but about half an hour later the website was up and everything for the Switch 2 and the price was there. Why they didn't put it in the Direct, I don't know, but yeah, it is what it is. So, based just then on the Direct, what did I think of it? What's my thoughts on the Switch 2? It's not something I plan to get at release. And that's not crazy for me. I've only ever gotten 2 systems at launch, ever in my life. I was born in 1988, and my first console was the NES, and I've grown up with consoles since then. And the only 2 systems I've ever had at launch were the DS and the Wii. I've never had another system at launch, so it's not crazy for me to wait a while for a system. But with the Switch 2, it is an interesting thing that after seeing the price, it's like, yes, technically I can afford it at launch if I wanted, which was usually a reason why I didn't get systems at launch before. But looking at what they revealed and what games are coming out, I think to myself, you know what, I'll wait. Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, yes. 2 games coming out within the first month or so of the system I definitely want. But then that's kind of it. A lot of it's just third-party re-releases and things like that, where it's like, okay, whatever. I don't really want to buy the same game twice when I've already got it on the first Switch or the PS4 or even the PS5. You know, so there wasn't that much there to grab me as a gamer. I know that obviously for some people, tons of games, great for them. For me personally, I'm going to wait for more big first party hits before I decide, yeah, I really want to buy a Switch 2 and get these new games. So, let's move on to the information that we got after the Direct. Starting with the price. So, the price for the system, I've got it written down here. I don't want to make a mistake, so I do have notes. So the price of the system here in the United Kingdom is £395.99. Which, honestly, I'm okay with that price. I am. Other systems have come out more expensive than this. You know, I got lucky with the PlayStation 5 and I managed to get that as a deal in a Black Friday sale for £350. The original model with a disc drive. That was a bargain. Now, good luck getting one under £400, and if you do, it's not even going to have a disc drive. And then, of course, there's a PS5 Pro, which was £700 or something insane. Yeah, so for the Nintendo Switch 2, the console price, for what it's going to be capable of doing with the 4K, 60fps, 1080p screen, up to 120 FPS, depending on the game, docked and undocked, the mouse controls, and the fact that it's going to have all this great first-party software from Nintendo that I love so much, I'm okay with that price. What I'm not okay with is the price of the games. Mario Kart World here in the UK is going to be £74.99. 75 quid for one game. No special edition, no extras, just the core game. There are very few times I've spent that amount of money or more on a game. And when I have, it's either been a very sought after retro game, such as most of the Dragon Quest games on the NES, and Dragon Warrior 2, 3 and 4, I believe all cost me more than that. Or it's been for a big special edition, such as the Legend of Heroes Trails games. I usually buy the collector's edition, and that usually sets me back about £95. And you get a bunch of extras and things with it as well as the game. But now Nintendo decided 75 quid will be the price of Mario Kart World, And they believe that that price is perfect. They think, yeah, because this game's going to be so big and cool, it's worth all that money. Which makes me wonder, okay, they haven't priced any of their games crazy like this before, so were none of them worth it? Super Mario Odyssey, get it for about £45, sort of the higher tier expensive places that you can buy it from, brand new and things like that. I paid less, but yeah, £45 say would be the regular retail price of that. Okay, that's considerably cheaper than Mario Kart World, so Mario Odyssey must be kind of garbage if you didn't want to charge us that much for it. It's just bullshit. It's just greedy corporate bastards wanting to charge as much as they can, knowing that they're going to get away with it. People are going to buy the game because it does look fantastic. It does. But for a lot of us, that is a very high price for one video game. And unfortunately, like I said, a lot of people are still going to end up buying it. They do have a cheaper option if you go digitally, as you can buy the Nintendo Switch 2 bundled with a digital copy of Mario Kart World. Here in the UK, that will cost you £429.99. So that'll basically make the digital copy of the game £35. When regular, if you were to just go on the Switch 2 and buy it on the digital store, would be £66.99, which for the digital version of the game is still more than I pay for brand new game releases anywhere else. So, yeah. So that's definitely one of the reasons that I'm not going to be getting a Switch 2 at launch as well, because of those prices. And then you have Donkey Kong Bonanza, which physical will be £66.99, the same as digital for Mario Kart World, and digital will be £58.99, which again is still very expensive. Third-party games, I think a lot of those will vary in price from your more regular prices. Here in the UK, sort of £40, especially for Switch 1, was kind of what you would normally expect. It was very rare I would spend more than £40 on a brand new Switch release. PS5 games can sometimes go up to sort of like £55 for newer releases, but they go down in price a lot quicker and usually a lot more than Switch games ever do. So yeah, you're looking at first-party software is going to be very expensive on the Switch because Nintendo believes you'll pay for them no matter what. And if you don't like them, if you don't like the Switch 2 price or the game prices, it's okay. Just buy a Switch 1. Yeah. It's bullshit, yeah. The games, like I said, do look fantastic, but will they be worth that amount of money? No, they won't. But people are going to buy them anyway. At some point, I'm probably going to bloody buy them anyway, because I do want to play them. I do hope the prices will go down, or we'll have sales, especially physically, because that's what I want to do. I want to buy physically. I have well over 100 Switch games. I know my Switch 2 library is not going to be anywhere near that size because of the prices, but I still want to collect physical. And speaking of physical, the Nintendo Switch 2 is also going to have these game key cards. And it's going to be like buying a physical game. You're going to get the box, you're going to get a physical little cartridge that you put in, but all it's going to do is activate a download for the game. So it's kind of like the next stage up of code in a box. Instead of just open the box up and there's the code that you put in on the store and download it, you'll just put the cartridge in and it will automatically download the game. Yeah, it doesn't seem that Nintendo first party or anything like that are going to use these. They'll be more for third parties, which are mainly the ones that use the code in the box now. So hopefully we won't see them that much, but when they do, it has been confirmed that they are not locked to a system. So it's not like a code in the box would be, where you have one code, you type it in, it activates, that's it, the code can't be used anymore. At least now you can still, sell and trade these games that come on the key cartridges. So you can still, get, Final Fantasy garbage on a key card, put it in, it downloads it, you play it, you still need the cartridge in to play the game. But when you're done with it, you can take it out, give it to a friend, they can put it in their system and play it, or you can go ahead and sell it. So yeah, thank Christ for that at least. I think people are getting a bit more scared of these. thinking that all games are going to be on these, but no, it's probably going to be, like I said, kind of like the code in the box where only certain games are going to be on those. So fingers crossed that'll be the case. Alright, let's see, just checking here, see what I may have forgotten. Yes, of course, pre-orders. So pre-orders here in the UK went live on the official Nintendo store on the 8th of April. Other retailers just thought, fuck it, and had pre-orders up on the day that the Direct went live. So people here in the UK and for most of Europe have been able to go onto their local gaming sites and things like that and get a pre-order in if they were available. Obviously they have low stock and things like that, but yeah, people have been able to get pre-orders. Unfortunately, the United States and Canada, pre-orders have been postponed there at the moment as they figure out what the hell's going on with the orange tax. So yeah, not sure when those countries are going to get pre-orders, unfortunately. Canada, up until like the day before, I think, were still due to get their pre-orders on the proper date. But I think they kind of figured out, wait a minute, a bunch of Americans might try and nab all of the Canadian pre-orders, so we better cancel both for now until we get things sorted and figure out what's going to go on with the whole orange tariffs. Did I say taxes before? Yeah, same thing, tariffs, taxes, whatever. Some orange-faced twat. Yeah. It's going to be costing a lot of people money, basically. So, yeah, poor US and Canada can't pre-order one at the moment. The rest of the world seemingly can, and most of them have. Yeah, so I think that about sums it up. Yep, that's everything that I have written down there. So, Nintendo Switch 2. As an actual system, I think it looks great. I really do. I just don't like the prices of everything after the system. The games are going to be expensive. The accessories, I didn't talk about those. So the camera, the official Nintendo camera, £50 that's going to cost. 50 quid. There is going to be a cheaper one made by Hori, who did here the Split Pad Pro. They do tons of accessories and things. They're doing one that looks like a piranha plant that looks amazing and would be something that I would legitimately want to buy. But it's only going to be 480p quality, whereas the official Nintendo one will be 1080p. But still, 50 quid, expensive. And then the Pro Controller too, £75 that bugger's going to cost. £75 for a controller. That is astronomically insane. Insane. And then the Joy-Con 2s, I believe, are going to be about £70 to £80, which, luckily, I'm probably not going to have to buy a second pair. Hopefully, if they've fixed the Joy-Con drift, the stick drift, I won't have to buy a second pair. I've only ever bought an additional pair for my Switch 1 because I use the Hori Split Pad Pro mostly. When I'm in handheld mode, I use the Pro Controller in docked mode. I bought another pair for some of the motion controlled games, but that was it. So hopefully I won't have to buy another pair, but for a lot of other people it's going to be very expensive for a multiplayer experience. Very expensive. So yeah, the console price, okay, everything else around it is insane. And for me personally, I just need more big hits coming to the system. I need the 3D Mario. While we're getting Pokemon ZA, it will be coming to both systems, so I don't see that as a big Switch 2 game. Same with Metroid Prime 4, although the Switch 2 version certainly looks to be the better of the two. Yeah, I need 3D Mario. I need more exclusives. I need a new Captain Toad. I want more. Give me more first-party exclusives. Give me more of a reason to want to buy the system and play the games there than on PS5, which I already own, and games that will cost me considerably less on that system. So, come on, Nintendo. Oh, long video. So, I'm bigcal. Thanks for watching. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of the Nintendo Switch 2 and the decision Nintendo are making. And I'll see you again next time.